Erik ten Hag has extended his contract as Manchester United men's first-team manager until June 2026. Ten Hag has said, "I'm very pleased to have reached an agreement with the club to continue working together. Looking back at the past 2 years, we can reflect with pride on 2 trophies and many examples of progression from where we were joined when I joined," he said. However, we must also be clear that there is still lots of hard work ahead to reach the levels expected of Manchester United, which means challenging for English and European titles. In my discussions with the club, we have found complete unity in our vision for reaching those goals, and we are all strongly committed to making that journey together. Managing Manchester United sporting director has also said on the appointment of him with the extended contract, this is Dan Ashworth, saying with 2 trophies in the past 2 seasons, Erik has reinforced his record as one of the most consistently successful coaches in European football. While the club's review of last season highlighted areas for improvement, it also reached a clear conclusion that Erik was the best partner for us to work with in driving up standards and outcomes. This group of players and staff have already shown they are capable of competing and winning at the top level. Now we need to do it more consistently. With our strengthened football leadership team now in place, we are looking forward to working hand in hand with Erik to achieve our shared ambitions for this football club. So the breaking news from Manchester United is that Erik ten Hag has confirmed that he's going to extend his contract with Manchester United as their men's manager until June 2026. Well, he led United to an 8th place finish last season, 8 points off the top 4, 31 points off champions Manchester City. They did beat rival City in the FA Cup final, though. That was his 2nd trophy in 2 seasons at the club. We're going to get more reaction to this and plenty more, of course, with England involved at the weekend in the Euros. We've got former Tottenham, Leeds and England goalkeeper Paul Robinson joining us now. Great to see you. I just want to get your reaction, I guess, to Ten Hag. The right decision, do you feel?
I think it's the decision that they've come to, obviously, after researching other options. I think they spoke quite openly about the end-of-season review, which you would expect to be done literally at the end of the season before they interviewed or looked for other candidates. If you read, and you're led to believe what we read in the media, they did look at other candidates. They spoke to possible candidates for the Manchester United job before arriving at this decision. If this was the decision that they were going to take, from Erik ten Hag's point of view, from Manchester United's point of view, you'd have expected the end of season review to be done, and then if they decided that he wasn't the right person, then they would go and look at other candidates. But they clearly did it the other way around. From the statements coming out from Manchester United, they're looking forward to working with him. 2 trophies in 2 seasons. Yeah. They see progression. I don't think 8th place finish this season was progression on the season before last. Obviously, Champions League football and the way that they fell out of the Champions League group this season, with no disrespect to the teams that were in their group, they should have progressed in the Champions League. As I said, he's got another trophy in the cabinet, and they see him as their best candidate going forward. There's going to be big change. There's going to be big change at Manchester United, and there already has been behind the scenes. But they obviously see him as a coach with the likes of Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox behind him, with a structure behind him that will look after the club, will look after the recruitment. I think they see his value as a coach rather than the manager and his player recruitment talent.
You mentioned that the 2 trophies that he won, that was at least an achievement. He'll look to build on that. What do you think realistically they should be and will be targeting? He talks there in the statement of, European success and winning titles.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Manchester United, aren't we? We're talking about the global superpower that is Manchester United, and they want to be put back to where they were competing and winning titles a number of years ago. I think the biggest thing that we all fall foul of is comparing Manchester United now to Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, with all the success that they had over the years, whether it be in the Premier League or whether it be in Europe. But the size and stature of the club, that's what Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be looking to bring back to that club. Listen, it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not an overnight fix. They're going to have to go through a bit more pain to get to where they want to get to. The playing squad will be overhauled. There'll be changes at the club. But you can see from Sir Jim Ratcliffe's immediate input that he's there for the long haul. This isn't just an overnight quick fix. He's putting in the foundations in the boardroom, the football structure at the club. He's now got the manager in place for next season, and we'll slowly be seeing change at Manchester United, where with the intent of putting them back to where they belong. What's success for Manchester United? I mean, they're in the Champions League last season. They won a trophy this season as well as last season. So the Champions League is almost a must for a club the size of Manchester United.
You mentioned a bit of an overhaul. We know there were quite a lot of injuries last season, so maybe a little bit unlucky there. But that aside, they're going to need to strengthen in the summer. You have said that. Where do you think they're going to need to strengthen? What areas? And do you feel it will be quite the clear out?
I'm not so sure it'll be quite the clear out, but I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's going to be players that actually leave Old Trafford first. And I think that's probably going to be Dan Ashworth's first remit, is to move players out. We know that Martial's gone. You look at the likes of Jadon Sancho, who's obviously been moved on out on loan. There's going to be exits at the club. And, you know, that's another victory for the manager. It's a vote of confidence for the manager, because with Jadon Sancho now, it's looking more and more like that he will leave the club if Erik is still in charge. So there are going to be doubts around certain players' future. You look at the likes of Harry Maguire, who's not played regularly this season. The defence is something that they will look at going forward next year, you would imagine. But obviously, you don't know what budgets they're going to have with the FFP and PSR rules. It's going to be it's going to be a tightrope to walk for them. But there will be player exits, and I think that's the biggest thing that Dan Ashworth will manage first, the outgoings, before he looks at what he can actually bring into the club.
What do you think realistically Manchester United should be targeting for the season ahead?
The Champions League. I mean, it's we said it's a club that size needs to and wants to be playing in the Champions League. They need to be competing for trophies again at the top of the Premier League. But a Champions League finish in the league this season would be seen as progression. Like I said, this season for Erik ten Hag, you could argue that they regressed from a Champions League finish the season before last and a trophy this season to an 8th place finish and a trophy. So you've got to see some kind of progression. But he's got the support network now around him to do that behind the scenes.
What do you think the fans are going to make of this news, Paul?
I think they'll be split. I really do. I think they'll be split. I think there'll be a lot that would call for him to go halfway through last season, towards the end of last season. And I think I myself was surprised that that's the decision that they came to, because they so publicly touted or chased or interviewed other people for the job. There was no secrets about that they were looking and that they'd made approaches for other people. So I was surprised. And I think that the fan base at Manchester United will be split on the decision. I think you saw the response, the reaction that he got at the end of the season after winning the trophy, and what a lot of people thought was his last game at Old Trafford. And the Manchester United fans, they do get behind their manager, they get behind the team. But I think there would be a split camp as to whether they wanted him to stay or not. But I think now that decision's been made, I think the clarity is important. The clarity moving forward for next season. He knows that he's going to be the manager for at least another season, barring an awful run of results. And the fans can now see stability at the club. And I think with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, with everything that he's bringing to the club, decisions are not being made for the short term. They're made for the long term and the future.